Bendiciones, everybody. Alafia to everybody tuning in. Man, this is a dope situation that I can bring forth to y'all, man, because I got a OG in the game, Papa Hector, man. Yo, say what's up to the people, brother.
Hi, everyone. Many blessings to everyone. I'm happy to be here with King Brujo Esuwale. It's awesome to be here. I'm excited. We're going to get into some good things today.
Yeah. So, before we get into like the deeper content, can you put some of your I guess you could say some of your credentials on the line as far as like initiations and things like that.
Okay, yes. So I received my first initiation into 21 divisions in 1989. I received my baptism in 21 divisions in 1993. Then I was initiated as a Houngan and Haitian Vodou in the first time in 2003, reconfirmed in 2005. And so we've been doing this for a really long time. I've run a World International Temple since the year 2003. And we started a little bit earlier than that, but we got official like around 2003. So that's like 22 years we've had this temple running here in the States. We have people back in Dominican Republic, back in Haiti, and all over the world. So yeah, we've been around here for a really long time doing this spiritual work.
Word. So, I'm glad to bring you on because like as most, people who follow my content know, I focus a lot of what I talk about on Ifa. I'm initiated to Itefa through which is to Orunmila. I'm initiated to Osun and I'm initiated to Eshu. And so a lot of what I speak about is centered around Ifa or Orisha. But my base that I grew up is Spiritismo, through my grandmother, right? My grandmother is from Puerto Rico, and so she raised me very closely. And so, I'm happy that I can bring somebody on to talk about ATRs from another perspective than maybe what my audience is used to. So, can you speak a little bit about like your cultural background? Like which part of the islands is your family from, and things like that.
Okay, so my family is both Puerto Rican and Dominican. And so on the Puerto Rican side, our family comes from Utuado, from Jabucoa, and from Mayagüez. On the Dominican side, we're from a small area outside of Santiago that's called Salcedo. A lot of my Dominican family did move to Puerto Rico, so it's very common. Lots of Dominicans live in Puerto Rico, and so we're a mixed blend family. Uh, my grandmother, who I grew up with, was an espiritista, and a lot of my family are either espiritista or they're involved in generally like Sanse or the 21 divisions. So we have a blend of those spiritualities existing in my family. I studied with my great aunt, the 21 divisions. Actually, two great aunts taught me the 21 divisions. They're my godmothers. And then eventually, when I got older, I made my way over to Haiti, being called by the Misterios to go there to just further my education, further my growth. And I was initiated in 2003 down in Jacmel, and then in 2005 in Port-au-Prince.
Okay. Okay. So you actually had a chance to actually live in Haiti.
Absolutely. I lived in Haiti for like a total of 3 years. And outside of those 3 years, I regularly do back and forth trips to Haiti and to Dominican Republic. Currently, Haiti's been kind of shut down due to their political situation for the last few years. So the last time I actually was able to make it to Haiti was 2022.
Okay. Yeah, Haiti's going through some turmoil right now. But
Absolutely.
I always say, man, it's always good to learn in the place of origin of whatever ATR that you're studying because it's just something about going to that source that you can't really find, in other places when you're directly in the source. And it's funny because me and my wife were talking about this the other day. When you study in the place of origin of that tradition, it's just like on Dragon Ball Z when Goku was training that planet, and it was really like he might have been on that planet for what was like 2 of those years, but on Earth it seemed like it was like thousands of years. You know what I'm saying? Because the learning curve is so steep when you go to those places, like because you're directly in it. Like there's no substitution for that. So like how do you feel about the importance of studying a tradition in the homeland of where it actually comes out of?
I think it's important. I think it's important to at least have gone there and spent some significant amount of time there,
Yeah.
simply because it's not an experience that you're going to get anywhere else, right? These traditions are really ingrained with culture. And so understanding and knowing the culture really gets you to a different place of understanding the tradition. So that's one. Number two is I always say to people, like, America is a country built upon religions of the book. And so Americans tend to have, or let's say diasporan people tend to have an idea of how things work, but it's usually kind of incorrect because simply they believe that there's very hard lines around how things are practiced. And when you go into the islands or you go to the origin place, you start to see that a lot of those lines are a lot blurrier than you would imagine. And there's a lot more crossover than you would imagine. I think it's really important for people to understand the culture, and not only the culture, I always tell people there's two parts of the culture. For example, like if we're talking about 21 divisions or even Haitian Vodou, there's Haitian culture and then there's Haitian Voodoo culture. It's like it's a subset of Haitian culture. So you might understand one level on the culture, but there's another level when it comes to these traditions. Understanding how much influence culture has. And like I said, also understanding that things are not as, let's say, clear cut as a lot of times people try to make it seem here in America. I found, a lot of priests who tend to be super dogmatic about a lot of things tend to usually also be the priests who've never actually spent any significant time in the place of origin, right? So many times here in America, people are quick to be like, they're doing this wrong, they're doing that wrong, they're doing that wrong. But in reality, it just speaks volumes as to not really having spent time. And how I was taught in Haiti, my godmother always said, Haiti has 99 forms of Vodou practice. That means in all sectors in the island, Vodou changes. How Vodou is practiced is changes. Even how the Lwa manifest changes, right? So one thing like here in America, a big thing, I'll just give an example, is like we have one concept of like the Lwa known as Ghede. Ghede is known to be as brash, very much kind of like a comedian, very much likes to cuss, talk about sex, very energetic, etc. That's a Ghede that comes really from Port-au-Prince in the south of the country.
Mhm.
If you go to Gonaives, it's a town in Haiti. The Ghede there manifests in a total different way. They don't actually talk like a bunch of, they're not very comedic. They're not talking a lot about sex. They're much more of a cooler energy than so hot and dynamic. They're more of a cooler spirit. So that's part of the difference that you come to learn when you spend time in the origin place. And spending time in the origin place, like a place like Haiti, where there are 99 forms of Vodou being practiced, like just because you know a form in one sector doesn't mean you know how it manifests in another sector.
Right. That's interesting because like we see a similar thing in Ifa. Like when you go to different parts of Nigeria, you're gonna even hear different orikis used to invoke the Orisha. You know what I'm saying? Like, some of them is like family based orikis that's like specific to a family lineage, where others is more like broader for that region. You know what I'm saying? Each individual household may have a different oriki for that Orisha. So you start to see, like you say, like these different ways of invoking the same deities and different aspects of them, because different aspects of Orishas will live in different parts of Nigeria or be known in different parts of Nigeria. So that's interesting that you talk about the differences between those two type of Gede, where on one side it's like the spicier side that is kind of got commercialized, I guess you could say, through television and media. And but then there's another side that's cooler, so that's something like you say, man, only from you being in that place and moving around could you really see that. I mean, how do you feel about like people thinking they can learn voodoo out of a book?
No. Books are good to give you a little bit of an introduction, but these traditions are living traditions. They're alive. They're constantly evolving. Our traditions are not dead. So that's part of the problem is that because people in the West are people who follow books, right? They come to read a book, then think like things can only be this way. This is the right way and every other way is wrong. And that creates resistance towards learning. I always say that, when you think you know, then you can't learn. When you think you know already, you're not open to learning something different, something new. Just like I've had people that I've taken to the north of Haiti or to other sectors in Dominican Republic, and they weren't able to recognize certain Lwa when they manifested simply because it wasn't according to what the book said or according to how they imagined it would be or even according to how they saw that same spirit manifest somewhere else.
Right.
So that's the problem with books. The book is good to kind of like give you a little bit of an idea, but you can't get too stuck on a book, especially when you finally get a real teacher, right? Or you get a real godparent. One of the things that I always appreciated about my godmother is that she always told me, when you go different places, don't criticize. Don't say it's wrong. Look, realize it's different, right? What you have to look in order to discover whether it's wrong or not is you have to look beyond the physical. You actually have to use your spiritual eyes in order to be able to really see, is the true essence of that force there, right? How it manifests may manifest a million different ways because the spirit also manifests in the way that's needed by the people at the time the spirit manifests.
Right.
So one spirit can manifest many different ways depending on what the people need, what's going on in the community at the time, etc., etc. And another thing that I think it's really important for people coming in from a diaspora setting is our all of our cultures are communal cultures.
Mhm.
This culture is an individuality culture in the West. Our cultures are communal cultures. So it is about community.
Right.
It is about other people. The world doesn't revolve around you. And that's a really hard thing for a lot of people in the diaspora to get is that the world doesn't revolve around you.
That's
When
good.
you have the type of money that we have here in the US, you can be an individual and, excuse my French, an asshole. Okay, you can afford to be an asshole, right? Down, one of the things that I teach my godchildren is like when we're in the island, no one can afford to hold a grudge. Here, people hold grudges all the time. In the island, your grudge might cost you your life because you won't be able to eat, right? So in the island, problems are usually resolved within matters of minutes. The same two people that you see arguing with each other, going head to head, 5 minutes later are sitting around laughing, having a beer. Why? Simply because no one can afford to have a grudge when you don't have the amount of money that is flooded in this country. You can't afford to hold grudges, stay angry, so on and so forth. Why? Because your livelihood, whether or not you survive, doesn't solely depend on you.
Mm. Yeah, that's deep because you see a similar thing when you go overseas to Nigeria. It's being communal, you know, or even when you go into Benin where you see voodoo, it's communal. And like, I think that's a very important thing to understand because, for instance, I may post something from ritual and you get these people like, oh, you're not supposed to show this. You're not supposed. In the country of origin, it's not a secret. Like in Nigeria, there's communal shrines that people come to from all over that region. So if a dog is to be given to Ogun, it's given to Ogun in the middle of everybody's going to see it. It's
Everybody's going to say it. Yeah.
uh,
That's a big one. That's a big one, actually. That whole like, oh shit, that's a secret. Oh, you can't post that. Oh, you can't look at that. Oh, you can't look at that. You know, when I first started offering my services online, the whole US American based community came after me. They're like, you can't do readings over the phone. My
right,
response was always like, no, you can't do readings over the phone. I can do them because I'm doing them. Look at
right,
me. You feel me? They told me I was one of the first priests to put ceremonies out on YouTube. And I got a whole lot of flack from people. You can't put ceremonies on YouTube. That's private, etc., etc. But if you were there, like in the country, anyone can show up, all the neighbors who aren't even a part of that temple show up, right? And everybody, the whole public can witness it, right? And so my whole thing was like, no, you might not be able to put things on YouTube, but I can because look, the shit's on YouTube. So obviously I can because I did, bro. I can because I did.
right,
So that was a big one. Now, a lot of those same people who came after me talking about you can't, you can't, you can't, they sitting here doing the same thing I started for them,
yeah,
right? So somebody got to pave the way for y'all. I get it. And if that means I take some flack, oh well, because I'm not really concerned with people's feelings who don't know what the hell they talking about. Just like
right,
quite plain and simple. Like you said, when you go to these countries, most ceremonies are held in a place where there is public. And in fact, like I have a saying that like in Haiti, privacy is very rare. Very, 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 very rare. Okay? Privacy, grudges, all that shit is luxuries. Those are considered rich people things. So if you're someone that's holding around grudges, if you're someone that's like super concerned with having everything in privacy, realize that basically for the majority of like people back in the islands or back in our originating cultures, that's rich people stuff.
right.
Don't tell us you poor, but you can afford privacy.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, the stuff that's not meant for you to see is not seen even in the place of origin. For instance, like in Nigeria, you will notice a lot of initiation is done overnight in hours where everybody is asleep. You will notice that even within those initiations, when there's parts that people are not to see, barricades are literally put up for you to not see it.
Oh yeah,
You know?
when there's secrets, it's done in a way that's secretive. Just like even in our traditions, when there's certain secrets going on within a closed room, there'll be drums playing on the outside of that closed room. You can't hear nothing that's going on in there.
Yeah,
You
that's
can't
true.
see nothing that's going on in there, right?
That's true.
That's part of the thing. One of the things I say about our traditions is a lot of things that we even do in secret, we do it right in front of you and you won't even know it, right? You won't even know it because we have methodologies, we have techniques that cover everything up. So even it's not uncommon that there's secret things going on in an initiation chamber, and outside that initiation chamber, a whole spiritual party is going on. And that whole spiritual party, all that noise, all that distraction, all that ceremony is keeping basically the public and the non initiated busy and distracted. Meanwhile, on the inside, we're doing something else.
It's real work going down. Like
Yeah, exactly.
real work going down. And that's very true. Like that's another purpose for the drummers that are coming to ceremony. Even like in aspects of like prayers that may not be for everybody to know, the spirit can hear us, but the drums overpower the ears of the other people who are around. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. Absolutely.
It's a whole nother vibe, man. And like people have a hard time understanding that because they think that these things are supposed to be like kept hidden in a way because of maybe what went down in the diaspora where we had to hide certain things. And maybe they think that's just the way that it's done in other places, but it's
Actually, I think it just represents a lack of knowledge.
yeah,
Just when you say things that don't make sense, it just tells me that you don't know what you're talking about. It tells me that you don't have the experience. I I don't really like to. I'm not the police, right? I'm not voodoo police. You do whatever you want to do in your house. We have a saying where we come from is like shakungan shakaili, which means your house. You're the priest of your house. You do what you want in your house, right? But when I see people saying certain things, all that lets me know is you actually don't have the level of knowledge or experience that you claim. And you might be able to fool other people. But like with someone who's been around, who's really gone in depth studying their craft, you're not going to be able to fool. There's just certain things that just A and B ain't equaling.
right.